Okay. All right, guys. Thank you guys for bearing with us here. We were a little bit late to get started, but I just want to welcome everyone to our Macchiato chat. If this is your first time here with us on our chat, I just want to give some credit to Keith Compton for coming up with the idea last year. Gosh, it's been almost a year, I guess. For doing these chats, and we've been hosting them every 6 to 8 weeks or so. And we dubbed it the Macchiato chat because it's right around 11 o'clock where you need that like mid-morning coffee. And I have my Cure. Any excuse to go to Cure, I'm totally down for. Sipping on a churro latte today. It's very, very good. But yes, this is a casual chat that we have with local professionals just right here in our area. Again, it was in response to COVID, and this chat really is for just to keep people connected, provide our community with some resources and good information on how to keep yourself. Like today, we're talking about how to keep yourself healthy, protect yourself in today's environment. And we've had loads of different topics. We've had Keith on every time. He's our reoccurring host. And we've had Joey on the show. Or I keep calling it the show. I feel like I'm a talk show host. These things. But we've covered a lot of different topics. And if you ever want to go check those out, we're getting them loaded on our YouTube channel. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. Like I mentioned before, we have Keith Compton with us, financial advisor with Edward Jones in Carrollton. Good morning, Keith.
Good morning.
Welcome, welcome. We also have Joey Bikkers back with us. Joey is the physical therapist, clinic director for Phoenix Rehabilitation and Health Services, and also a board certified specialist in orthopedic physical therapy. I think I got that right, Joey.
Yep,
welcome.
Right on. Thanks again for having us.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for coming back on with us. And then we also have a newbie here today, Agent Tim with 10 Minor State Farm. Welcome, Tim.
Hey, welcome. Glad to be here.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Like I said, today is all about protecting yourself. And of course, we have Joey here with the health aspect of it. And Keith and Tim's going to give you some great pointers on protecting yourself through insurance, your assets, etc. So Keith, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Well, again, everyone, good morning. And thank you for joining us to another awesome Macchiato chat. And we do want to say thank you for the Chamber for allowing us to bring some of our local businesses together and highlight some of the guys and gals that are out there making things happen for our Isle of Wight area. So thank you for doing this for us. And so everybody's like, well, why protection? Well, did anyone look outside today? What's happening? It's raining. So if I go outside without my hat, without my raincoat, or without my umbrella, I'm going to get soaked. Well, the same thing can happen to your financial life and your physical body if you don't don some sort of protection. Whether that protection is life insurance, health insurance, car insurance, making sure the investments are allocated properly, or whether your body is in tune, you're in tune with what your body's telling you. If we don't do that, we will have a breakdown or we'll get soaked. And soaking can lead to colds. And we don't need colds. What we need is the proper healthy outlook for our life, financially and physically. And so it's such a great opportunity that we have a wonderful person with us, Tim Minor, who really leads the fight in making sure that our folks are protected against any sort of financial catastrophe that can happen to you. And so I like to, as you said before, Jessica, with this is we spawn off each other. We answer questions that come up. And so I'm going to turn over to Tim because he's got some great pointers out there that is awesome to hear about.
Absolutely. Thanks, Keith. And thank you all for having me. Like Keith mentioned, days like today with the weather, what's going on in Texas with the ice storm and things like that, it's always good to have that protection in place and to know what protection you actually have. Like Keith mentioned, on your vehicle, on your home, anything like that. So when they asked me to join today, I thought it'd be perfect to go over, a few things to help protect your assets. And the main thing, of course, when we talk about assets, the number one thing, yourself. You always want to make sure that you and your family are protected. So one of the main ways to do that, like Keith was mentioning, you always want to have, a lot of people don't know, but you always want to have a separate liability policy in place, which is a personal liability umbrella policy. Those are huge in today's world. They help cover your liability exposure. They help cover you for being, negligence in an accident or somebody getting injured on your property, anything like that. It's just an extra secure policy to have, so you don't have to come out of pocket. So when we're talking about protecting assets, a personal liability policy, and it usually starts at $1 million worth of extra liability protection. And I think that's the most important policy that we offer in the insurance world, especially with State Farm. The second key would be in making sure your main asset, your life, you and your family through a life policy, making sure that you have that protection in place to help cover your mortgage, help cover any final expenses, help cover any additional lost income if you would unfortunately pass, and want to make sure your family is properly protected. So life insurance is a key asset to have, and to make sure that you understand what type of life insurance policy you need to make sure that you and your family are properly protected. A third way that I think is a great way to cover an asset is through disability policy. In today's world, you never know what tomorrow brings regarding, with the life policy, or especially if you were to become disabled. If you unfortunately become disabled, you want to make sure that you have those funds still coming to you to help protect, take care of you and your family, the mortgage payments, your car bills, any kind of loans, credit card payments, and of course your insurance payments. So I think a disability policy is another way to protect those assets.
Wow, that is awesome, Tim. I love the picture of the umbrella back on one of your slides.
Absolutely, that's the umbrella for that personal liability umbrella policy. I call that a lawsuit protection policy, is another term that I use for that, to kind of make how clear that can cover all your liability exposures.
And I really think the key with that is making sure that you have a professional to be able to you threw out those terms like it was banned, and then you understood what it meant to help someone protect their family. If I worry less, I can enjoy more life. And I like that saying that you had there. That's what we really want folks to do, is have joy with their lives. They worked hard to do certain things. So that disability though, folks don't use that very often, do they?
At all. And when we mention that, a lot of people don't realize that it's an actual policy that you can get. I mean, they hear it, on TV commercials with, making sure you have that in place or how it works. But when we mention it to our customers, a lot of people don't understand how that works. And it's a very inexpensive policy. And it's something that definitely comes into play if you were to become disabled, to help with any expenses. And the main thing I use, our customers that have all their insurance under one basket, a monthly bill. If something was to happen, we want to make sure that all their insurance is being paid, and that's what that disability policy would cover for them.
Cool. And I think I know with disability, I think of injury, and I think that's the neat thing with having Joey on here, is he can talk about some of the things that he's seen really to help prevent injury. But more importantly, if I am disabled, or if I do have that injury that prevents me from having joy, how can I recover? And so I think if we can bring Joey in a little bit to talk about that, that'd be awesome.
Absolutely.
Sure. Thanks, guys. So Keith, you started to touch on a really salient point with respect to being able to enjoy life. So this gets even before the injury state. So think about it, you don't think about 20 years down the road necessarily. And I think this is something you probably encounter a lot with the financial advising side, is, preparing for the future. I think oftentimes, especially with the way, social media is and the way things are broadcast on TV, you think of exercise and you think you got to be LeBron, or you think you got to look like a fitness model. But really, I think we need to kind of change that paradigm a little bit and think of physical activity as something to, better enable you to do something in the future. So if you go buy a 30-foot RV, you're not going to try to pull that with a little car that has a hitch, right? Probably not going to go super well.
Right.
So if you're not typically physically active and all of a sudden you're trying to, renovate the inside of your house, the likelihood of things talking to you and giving you some issues, pretty decent. So I think there's definitely value in trying to stay ahead of the curve and just keep your body in good working order. You wouldn't let your car go, 50,000 miles without an oil change, right? You want to stay up on that regular maintenance to make sure that car is going to be able to stay on the road and stay protected with Tim's help for a long time. So again, I think there's a big shift we need to have as a collective society and thinking about staying active for the sake of being able to enjoy those things down the road. I'm turning 30 this year, so the thought of like me being able to interact with grandkids isn't a big thing, but it's something we see in the clinic all the time. Is maybe that someone will start off with a small little nagging shoulder issue and they just kind of ignore it and put it off, and 10, 20 years go by, and now all of a sudden they're looking down the barrel of a surgery and they've got a 2-month-old grandbaby, and they're like, I really want to be able to hold them, I really want to be able to play with them, but they're limited from the shoulder, or maybe they've had that surgery and they can't play and interact with their grandchild like they want to. So again, I think starting at a grassroots level, we need to do more to promote physical activity and healthy lifestyles. It doesn't mean you need to be workout machines like LeBron James and hop in your cryotherapy machine and all these other crazy things, but getting out and going for a walk and generally trying to follow a healthy diet. That doesn't mean you can't have cake every once in a while, but again, you don't want to have cake with every meal of the day. So it's just about trying to find that level of moderation and trying to do those little things to set yourself up for future success, so you can maximally enjoy that time with your family.
I love it. I love it. And Joey, you're so right. Better do some things now that the future self will give you 2 thumbs up, or even better, say thank you for doing that.
Right.
And even and from a financial perspective, it's the same thing. Make sure how much money comes in, how much money goes out. Am I covering the things that's important? Have I talked to my expert, Tim, to make sure that I have the right protection? And then am I investing for the future? Sometimes that's scary. Sometimes there is some rain showers when you invest, right? I know March was a big rain shower from an investment perspective, but even for a health perspective. But the neat things about rain showers in the investing world is that they go away.
Exactly.
And so what's left is for the guys and gals that did that grooming, they did that preparation, those flowers bloom for them. And so, we believe, just like you guys are, and I think all of our experts are here saying is, come to someone who's an expert in these things that we can get to know you. And we can get to tell you the best ways to help you. Whether it's, looking on, don't just listen to the guys and gals on YouTube because they don't know you. I mean, the guys and gals on the TV is going to tell you something, but really I can get deep down into what is important to you and what's driving you and keep you focused on that goal. And I like the way where you said regular maintenance. So Tim, how do you do that from an insurance perspective? How do you do like regular maintenance to make sure the folks are good?
Great question, Keith. And especially everybody, like you just mentioned, March of last year, when we had this, when COVID came into play with the pandemic, it really opened everybody's eyes. One way of reviewing or making sure that maintenance is properly taken care of, not as many people were driving. So we took that opportunity, and State Farm being awesome in what they did, gave back to our policyholders with a dividend, had a rate decrease because we wasn't having as many accidents or claims because not as many people were driving. So we also took that opportunity in our office to try to get all of our customers. We reach out, try to do an annual review with all of our customers to make sure that that maintenance is properly taken care of, make sure that the coverages or that need hasn't changed. We make sure that all of our customers are educated on what coverage they currently have, liability-wise, coverage-wise, and if there's, make sure that everybody's properly informed on all the discounts. We want you to be, multi-line, a home, auto, and of course, all the discounts as well. So that's one way that we try to take care of that regular maintenance is through annual reviews. And I tell my customers, it doesn't have to be annual. Anytime you have a question, concern, or anything comes up, you hear a topic, you go visit Keith or you're at Joey's clinic and you overhear something insurance-wise, I tell them stop by here or call me anytime. I'll be more than happy to answer any of those questions. So great question, Keith.
Yeah, man. And that's the neat thing about us all being local here at Isle of Wight is we bump into you in the supermarket, as we're heading over to grab our coffee from Cures, or if we're going down the street to the Smithfield Inn. I mean, we see you guys, we can reach out and touch you all. And although I know we all can help folks outside of our area, but really if we're focused in helping our guys and gals grow their wealth, keep their body physically fit, and then protecting them I think it's just neat that we have experts like you guys here. And so that's fantastic. One of the things that I met when I first met Joey, actually, my daughter had sprained her ankle doing sports. And so not quite disability as a young person, but I know we're going to start having sports again. And so I think that's a really neat thing for Joey to mention for our young guys and gals, and even us old guys after the COVID-15, as we say, with the guts, that we need to get back out there. And I think Joey has mentioned a couple of times of how to do it right. And if you can just give us a little thought on that when we're starting up again, so we don't have to come to see you because of an injury.
Right. Yeah. We're all about trying to keep people out of the office. No one looks forward to seeing the physical therapist, right? Because that means something's usually not going in your favor. But especially with respect to like the kids, some of the sports seasons for organized VHSL sports have already started their season. And, it's great. It's been cool. I think Smithfield, I didn't see the outcome, but I know the basketball team had playoffs going on this week. So it's good to see that rolling. I know football is coming up soon. But largely when you have someone going from not doing anything, they've been hanging out, especially if you consider virtual school, they're probably getting out of the house even less, just not moving around. Again, it's the whole analogy of pulling the RV with, a small car versus, a giant truck that's got that load capacity. If your body is better, well trained for what's coming to you, you're going to respond better to it. So I think the big thing is to start somewhere. And this goes for, the middle school and high school athlete all the way up to the, someone hanging out in their 50s and 60s, maybe that hasn't been as active. I think just start somewhere, but start small and set realistic goals. I think where people often can get into issues or get into troubles with respect to exercise is they set really high and lofty goals without a realistic timeline. And while there's nothing wrong with trying to set a high end goal, you need to make sure you're talking to someone who can help guide and kind of set those realistic expectations for you. You're not going to go from sitting on the couch to running that ultra marathon coming to Smithfield in June in a matter of a month. There will be issues that crop up with that. But if that's something you want to get into, it's worth talking to someone that's, an expert in the health and sciences field or in a personal training background to talk about, okay, maybe let's look to next year. Let's get you started just even getting into jogging some. So it's just being, trying to be realistic with where you want to go and trying to take it gradually.
Awesome. I'm going to guess, Jessica and Kristen, there's probably some questions out there. But I like what you mentioned, Joey, and especially Tim, talking about the things that we can do to help take care of loved ones and the experts. But I'm thinking Hog Jog October, right? So if I want to get to the Hog Jog, I actually got to start now. I got to start now. And so that's the neat thing about having someone to help guide, someone who cares about you. And for us in Edward Jones, really, that's what we want to do is just help guide you and keep you on the plan, but then tell you the realistic stuff. Did you know that inflation will rise this year? It's bound to rise. So what? That means I got to outpace inflation for my future goals. What outpaces inflation? I need some bank money, but I also have to invest some money to outpace inflation so that my future self can say, great job. And that I can actually make it all the way to the end of the Hog Jog and not cramp out in the middle of the big hill that they've got, so. Absolutely. Thank you guys very much. Jessica, I think maybe there's some questions, opportunities. I don't know if you have some as well.
So I'm not seeing anything open here, but if anyone has any questions, you can ask it in the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen if you're on your laptop or phone. Or you can just shoot over a chat message. But, while I have all three of you here, I know you talked today's theme was like talking about protecting yourself, measures you can take to protect yourself health-wise, financially, things like that. But, the great thing with all three of you, you're local. And I don't think that we can stress that enough is we have some fantastic professionals right here in Smithfield, Carrollton, and the greater county. So, and all of you all are connected to the chamber in some way or fashion or form. And, I really want folks who are listening to take advantage of that. And we have a directory online, and you can go right onto our website if you're looking for information or contact details for our speakers, and you can go right there and check that out. But while you are here, Can we talk about some of the other services, maybe the ones that you offer within your practice or your firm or whatnot that people might not know about? Like Joey, for instance, when I was looking up to make sure I got your introduction correct, you have a lot of accreditations below your name, and one I saw was dry needling. Well, to me, that's very unique. So, we have those things right here in Smithfield. So I would love to kind of go around the table here and maybe just shoot off 3 or 4 things that your practice offers that people may not know about, and see if we can like generate some more interest. So we'll start with you, Joey.
Sure. So just for a little bit of background, I've got my doctorate from Shenandoah University, and I've done a lot of continuing education with a group based out of Texas now. It's Evidence in Motion. So through them, I've done prep for that orthopedic specialty certification, and I'm currently completing an orthopedic fellowship. So basically what that enables me to do is not only be able to practice most up to date as far as what's out there research, but also kind of puts me in a good position to be able to carry that knowledge over to teaching. So I've got obviously a huge passion for population level health. And I think a lot of that comes by making sure that our providers are practicing at the top level that we can. So huge proponent of being able to contribute not only in the clinical aspect, but also teaching other clinicians out there on maybe things we can do better, things we can do more efficiently to keep people moving. And then dry needling, you mentioned, that's kind of a hot button one for a lot of people. So it's kind of the use of a small needle to insert actually through skin, typically into muscle tissue. It's often used as kind of a pain modulating effect. So think like, oh, I've got like this tight, gnarly muscle going on up here. It's giving me a lot of stiffness and issues. Some research kind of showing how that can be of benefit in conjunction with some other treatments. So something we certainly offer here. I think there may be another clinic still in the county, but largely, I think historically, I used to work in North Suffolk, and we saw people all the time from all over, just because it's kind of a few and far between thing. As far as like patient population, we work with everything, whole lifespan. We've worked with kids as young as I think 8 in the clinic, and I've worked with someone over 100. So just any little ache, pain, traumatic injury, what have you, we're ready for it.
All right, and Joey, I actually just had a question come in for you. Do you have any suggestions for getting started, like getting started with exercise or just moving for maybe some of our older folks that may be listening?
Yeah, so again, that can be a loaded question because a lot of it kind of is contingent on what the baseline level is. But one thing that's generally a safe bet is starting relatively light, but using heart rate monitoring as a means for kind of guiding the intensity of your exercise. You don't need to go start doing, like barbell squats or anything, but just working on repetitive squats to a chair, or just going and not just going for a leisurely walk, but walking to get your heart rate up. So using the smartwatch or a Fitbit or something, and actually working in a targeted range. So often you'll see, as far as the research out there, shooting for that 65 or 60 to 80% heart rate, max heart rate. It's an easy calculation, but again, if you have questions about what that might look like, that's one thing we offer here with our clinic is just free, quick consults to answer those little questions so that people have a little bit more ease of mind knowing that they're doing the right thing.
Great. Thanks so much, Joey. I'm going to switch over to Tim because I got actually a question for you, Tim. So the question is how, let me see, let me go back and make sure I'm reading this right. What's the best age to start a life insurance program, and can you be too young? That's a good question.
You never be too young. That's a great question. Never be too young. I tell, when I try to introduce life insurance to my customers that come in, a lot of people don't think about life insurance until, unfortunate, an event happens, they lose a loved one or a family member or a friend or anything. So there's never too young to start. We always suggest with all of our policyholders when they come in and we congratulate them if we see they had a newborn, we always ask them, try right there to kind of plant the seed or mention life insurance, not for the death benefit, of course, is to go ahead and establish a policy on a newborn. Because one, the premium is a lot lower. As most people know, when we're younger, it does intend to increase as we get older. But two, we never know what, like I mentioned earlier, what tomorrow brings as far as health issues. And we hope nothing ever happens, especially when we're talking about children. But it does happen, unfortunately. And if we go ahead and lock in a life policy, and by the age of 8 or 9, they've already had that life policy in place, and something unfortunately happens health-wise, they're not then eligible for life insurance. But as a parent and And me doing my job with my clients, they already have that locked in place, and that premium, especially on a whole life or permanent policy, that premium stays the same their entire life. So that's one perk of starting a policy on a child. Another perk is while we are young, we want to go ahead and lock in something. We have term policies as well, which are a little bit less expensive than a whole life, but as long as you lock in a term policy, and then we can eventually try to convert that or get you back in and see if your needs have changed, students or children in college. You have some debt that you want covered in case something happens. Those are those term policies come into play where they'll actually cover that need for either 10, 20, or 30 years. So that was a great question. It's never too young, and never too early to start a policy, but I always suggest, especially, those that, get out of college and think they're gonna live forever or not have the need of a life policy. It's always good to start somewhere and start younger.
Thanks so much, Tim. Is there anything else you'd like to add on as far as different services that your office offers?
Yes, our office, a lot of people don't realize it. As State Farm, we offer everything. As far as auto, we mentioned home, renter's insurance, we mentioned the personal liability policy. We do motorcycles, boats. Another big one is, of course, life insurance and health as well. But another big one that a lot of people don't realize is we also do small business. We do a lot of commercial insurance for businesses. And that's one thing that I'm trying to, I wanted to come on with our chamber here to encourage those small businesses. If you have a policy with another insurance company that's, in another state, and you never met with that agent or never met or not really familiar with that company, I'm always available to review. And even if you just want me to review the coverages you currently have, that's one thing that we do here in our office for our customers, our community, anybody. So that's another perk that a lot of people don't realize with our office. We cover everything and take care of everything. So.
Fantastic. Yeah, that was that last bit about the small business. That was news to me, which is very good information for me to know as I'm referring out. So thanks so much, Tim. All right, Keith.
Yes, ma'am.
Back to you.
So one of the things that has struck us a lot this year, last year, that we've been able to really help is as people think about what they want to do for the future, is help folks make sure that they have trust accounts set up properly, making sure that they're funded properly, making sure that the assets in the trust mirror what they're trying to do. And so that's something that we do and we are able to help folks with. And then we're also getting a lot of small businesses looking at how can I save for my future? That one of the things that this pandemic has showed is that I really need to start thinking about that. And so the ability to sit down with someone, understand, and again, now we work with folks that really understand that, hey, no one understood us before, but you, Dina, and Tammy sit down and you talk to us, you listen to us, and we're able to actually identify they can do investments as a business, they can do retirement plans, and then I can get them in touch with my friends and partners like Tim for taking care of the business side and insurance side. And then also, obviously, if there's some injuries things, I know Joey, but which is a network, that big network. People don't really understand the network that we have in our office that we can get folks to help. The other thing is, and I think it's because it's personal, is Samuel, my son, is doing the college search thing. And so just realizing the importance, and Tim mentioned this, you're never too young. And so the importance of thinking of, do I want these kids to leave, or do I want them to stay with me when they go to college? And so going through the FAFSA process really just opened my eyes to the importance of planning for those children's education now. I always knew it was important, but it just reiterated that we need to get that college funding plan in place. And so being able to educate folks about that is also something that I think people don't realize we do. Yeah, you do investments, but there's specific ways to use your investments. And so, edwardjones.com gives you a good rundown of the things that we do, but, calling our office. You can talk to me, you can give Phil Fricks or Jeffrey Scott a call in our Smithfield office just to know a little bit more. But the network that we have, the fact that small businesses, we're there for you, we understand how to help you, getting those kids out of school, getting those kids out of the house and into education without breaking your arm or leg, which then means you have to go see see Joey after you do that. But and then just how to make that estate planning dollars work.
Very good, Keith. Yes, and you you always point out a point that I think is so important on every single one of these chats, and it's what are your personal goals? And that is the benefit of working with a professional and a local professional, right? Because you are reachable, you're touchable, and you can really dial in to you know, curtailing or creating a plan that is perfect for that one person, and not just, you know, generalized policies or you shoulds type of thing. So thank you so much. Tim, I do have another question for you, if I can switch back real quick. Let's see, let me go find it here. Oh, is there any financial benefit for life policies?
Yes, absolutely. Another great question. Financial benefits, you know, speaking when I mentioned earlier, a permanent policy, and a lot of people know it as a whole life policy. Those policies, of course, do build cash value, and with State Farm being a mutual company, they do accumulate dividends as well. So over time, that policy continues to get funded over the years, it will start building cash value that you can borrow off of it at a later time. As far as that financial stability on that, we do have paid up policies, paid up permanent policies, where after 10 years, that policy is paid up, or 15 or 20 years, you have a couple of options. And then the policy's paid up. You don't have to fund the policy anymore, but even though you're not funding it, it still starts accumulating or building cash value that you can borrow off of. I always like to compare that to a supplemental retirement plan, something that's always going to be there financially in the future when we get to that retirement age of 65, 66 or older. But it's just a lot of benefits on the life side that a lot of people are not aware of. And that's my job. That I love what I do, and speaking with clients, and just kind of educating everybody on what the purpose of life insurance is, and all the other types of insurance as well. That was a great question.
Thanks, Tim. All right, back to you, Keith. I've got a question for you. With the current market and the growing market bubble, do you think that the gold and silver is a smart place to put some retirement funds into?
That's a really great question, because everyone perceives there's a bubble brewing because tech blew up so quickly last year. But tech drove because of a demand and a need. And so gold and silver are always considered, or commodities are always considered, safe havens for either inflation, which they're not a good hedge against inflation, or against a very volatile market. And so my recommendation to anyone is, if gold and silver makes sense from your risk perspective, a little bit. But gold and silver, and one of the things that Tim mentioned is dividends. Gold and silver doesn't pay dividends. They don't pay you to hold them. They only accumulate a value, and their value is market driven. And if you actually look at the trend line for the last 10 years, gold and silver has actually been a terrible investment until the last year and a half. And so if we're expecting another, and so that's the other thing, the market has a decline. The economy goes through a cycle. Every 5 to 7 years, we have a recession. What really matters is, what do you do during that recession? I can put a little bit in gold and silver, or guess what? Ever heard the term buy low? Who likes going shopping for sales? That's when you start buying into the market, when it's low. Because then you can get that 30, 40% return that sets you up for your future self to give you those 2 thumbs up. But if you're not sure, definitely speak to someone who cares about you and what your specific goals are. But I do recommend diversify. Diversify. Don't throw it all into Apple. Diversify.
Awesome. Does anybody else have any questions? Oh, here we go. Got another one here. I think let's see. I think we kind of touched on this, but Tim, I think this is more for you. So one of our listeners are asking, do I need to have an annual sit down meeting with my car or house insurance agent?
absolutely. That's one topic that I hit on earlier about the importance of annual reviews with your insurance agent to make sure that everybody's educated on the coverages they have, the liability limits, which is the big, most important part of a auto policy, is those liability limits. And also to make sure, with what we've witnessed over the last year with the pandemic, make sure, everything, all the vehicles are classified correctly, how they're being driven. And a lot of people too, when they come in, don't realize that, it's by lowering their deductible on a collision, if they have full coverage, they've always been told or hear, like with the smaller insurance companies or those internet insurance companies, to go with higher deductibles. And when I bring customers in to review their home and auto coverages on that auto side, if they're already on a monthly plan, you're talking $2 or $3 difference a month to go from a $500 deductible to cut it in half to $250. So that's huge. And a lot of people don't realize, they think it's a big difference. But I'm trying to save, them from having to come out of pocket, for any additional expenses the best that I can. So that was a great question. But yeah, it's very important to always keep up with your policies. I know with State Farm, our auto policies are 6-month policies and our homes are a year. So that's why I always try to do, annual reviews with the customers.
Very good. All right. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions out there? All right. Don't see any more in the chat or the Q&A. But again, even if you don't want to ask it live, you can always contact Tim, Joey, and Keith, after we get off the chat, if you ever have any kind of questions and whatnot. And I know, Tim, I had your information up here. Joey and Keith, do you want to just real quick maybe give out your email address or phone number, or the phone number to your office?
Joey?
I just threw my email in there. That's usually the easiest way to get a hold of us,
Oh,
just
yep,
because it's coming straight to my phone 24/7. So if anyone ever has any questions, we're happy to field those.
Wow, that was awesome. Joey, you're super fast. Ah!
Oh, I can't.
Keith Compton, 757-238-2740 is the number, and Tammy and Dina are there to help you. But again, if you can't reach me, again, don't forget we have a Smithfield office of Edward Jones with Phil and with Jeffrey Scott there. And again, pass my number on, and it's keith.compton@edwardjones.com, or you can Google us.
All right. Yep. And I see, Tim, you put yours in there. I like your website, Tim's My Agent. That's so easy to remember. Who's my Tim? Tim's my agent. Let me type that in. Very, very good.
And one thing I did want to say real quick, Jessica, I know Joe was hitting on with sports and with basketball with Smithfield. I did want to congratulate Smithfield High School. I know they had a game last night. I hadn't heard the results, but I believe they did win. So I think they are going to state. So I did want to congratulate Smithfield High School, which is awesome.
Awesome. Go Packers.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. That's right.
Wonderful. All right. Well, this was a great chat today. I mean, obviously a lot of information. And you three are just excellent resources to have on our Macchiato chats, and all local, right? Tim, you're right here in Smithfield, South Church Street.
Yeah.
Joey, you're over in, is that the Smithfield Plaza?
Right down from Cockeyed Rooster.
Cockeyed Rooster, yeah. Go get breakfast and then check in with Joey. And Keith, you are right over in Carrollton.
That's right. Right around the corner from the food line.
Yep. So all local. And I mean, for one, ever since coming on with the chamber, even before, doing business with local people, and I mean, you're really making, I always preach this, you're just making a huge impact, not only, for that person, but for their business, but for their families, right? Because you always see, these little memes on Facebook. It's like Amazon's not going to, sponsor your kid's baseball team, but you'll see, especially these three businesses here, they're proponents for their own community. So definitely support local, buy local. And I think, the silver lining with COVID, at least, from a chamber's perspective, is local has never just been so important, like our local restaurants, our local boutiques. We did the Aisle Shop Small gift certificate program to help support local and keep our economy, rolling on through this pandemic. So, and this Macchiato chat is a big part of that. So again, thank you guys so much for being on today. I don't see any more questions, so I think we're going to wrap up here. And I did forget to introduce our media and programs coordinator, Kristen Marchant. I know she's up in the corner just smiling, and I'm like, I didn't even introduce her. But Kristen is with the chamber now, and has been with the chamber for several months now. And she's kind of my behind the scenes lady who sets all this stuff up and does a fantastic job getting everybody organized on the same page. So thank you, Kristen. But again, all of our attendees, thanks so much for signing on. Again, these are available on our YouTube channel and will be shared on Facebook afterwards. So you can go back and listen again or, double check anything that you may have missed. But all right, Tim, Joey, and Keith, it was a pleasure. Thank y'all so much for being on, and have a fantastic day.
Thank
Thank you
you
for
all.
the opportunity, and thank you all for attending.
Absolutely.